Okay, we are now recording, and we're going to cover today the dynamic aspects of compression. Okay, we're leaving all this input-output function stuff behind, leaving knee points and compression ratios and types of compression. And what we're really going to look at today, and it's not a very long topic really, it's kind of a short one, but it's called the dynamic aspects of compression. It concerns time, your watch. It concerns how long does it take for the hearing aid to get into compression. And when compression's no longer needed, how long does it take for the hearing aid to back off and become linear again? So hearing aids, every hearing aid every circuit takes time to react, and there's lots of different choices and different schemes of that. Now, most of this is handled automatically by your software. Most of this is you don't really go into your software and set it, but you're going to encounter all these terms when you start fitting hearing aids from manufacturers. Some might call it, you're going to hear the term syllabic compression and adaptive compression and average compression and peak detection compression. You'll see these terms when you start running into the different manufacturers, and that's really what the purpose of today's talk is mainly to get you familiar with what those terms are and what they mean. So without any further ado, we'll share screen here, and I'll show you my notes in dozy dotes and maresy dotes. Okay, and little lambsy divey. Okay, here we go. Dynamic aspects of compression. It's mainly in chapter 7 of my book, and it's not a terribly long section. You'll see it's about 12 pages in length. But basically, when you read with me, the static elements of compression, the static, not the dynamic. Now we're talking the static. And that's what we've covered so far. The static elements of compression are knee point and ratio. That's the stuff we've been covering for the past few weeks. The dynamic aspects, however, concern reaction times of the compression. What I'm graying out there, the reaction times. That is how quickly it responds to compression and how fast it kicks in when knee points when inputs get more than the knee point. As soon as the knee point is hit, how quickly does the hearing aid go into compression? How fast does the compressor react to input intensity changes? How long does it take for the compression to stop when no longer required? And so these are known as what's called the attack time and the release time. Attack time meaning how fast does the hearing aid go into compression? Release time is how long does it take for the hearing aid to go out of compression? All circuits have some small time delay. Analog circuits have less time delay than digital. And why do you think this might be true? Well, analog is just mic, amp, receiver. There's no software taking place. There's no software decisions taking place. But anyway, dynamic aspects of compression are different from general circuit time delays. All circuits have a time delay in them. I mean, they all do. But here we're talking attack and release time. We're talking deliberately set times that the manufacturer has chosen to put into their hearing aids. The dynamic aspects of compression concern built-in, predetermined time delays for going into attacking or going out of releasing from compression. And I'm just reading.
I have a question then.
Go for it.
Is there a point then that since digital hearing aids have automatic attack and release times, is there a point or a particular hearing loss that you would recommend an analog hearing aid for someone?
Never. Not anymore. Never. Today's hearing aids are all digital. People who wear analog hearing aids might live in, Africa or in poorer countries that just don't have access to computers like we do. And a lot of donated hearing aids to India. But even though we're there, India is rising as a country. Brazil is rising as a country. Even some of these countries are all there. It's basically programmed digital hearing aids. Now, In analog hearing aids, yep, you could choose different attack release times, or actually you couldn't choose it. They just were one type or another. They made them that way. Digital hearing aids, you can change the attack and release times if you want to. You as a clinician can go in there and muck with that, but manufacturers usually say, don't do that, you'll screw it up, leave it alone. But we'll talk about the various types of attack and release times that there are. It's interesting. Okay, share screen. Here's a picture of dynamic aspects of compression. If you see this here, I'll blow it up, and you can see here's the sound coming into a hearing aid, and it's soft, and then suddenly the sound becomes louder, and then suddenly the sound becomes softer. So changes in intensity over time. Here's the hearing aid's reaction to it below. As you can see, the hearing aid is amplifying. That's why this sound here is bigger than this one. So the hearing aid is amplifying, and then suddenly the input sound becomes louder. And so the hearing aid, whoa, it makes the sound louder too, but here's the attack time, the curve. Okay, now it's going into compression. Okay, and now it stays into compression, stays, and then suddenly the input sound becomes quiet again. Okay, so how long does the hearing aid take to relax and take a chill pill and back off and go out of compression? And this is a very familiar diagram. It's not something that I've made up. If you look in Starkey hearing aid literature, Oticon hearing aid literature, if you go into their websites and look up dynamic compression, attack release times, Google it up, you'll see this kind of a diagram. It's really quite popular in the hearing aid industry. But note that the attack time occurs when the hearing aid goes into compression. Release time is the time it takes for the hearing aid to back off and go out of compression. Here's another picture. I got this from an ANSI manual. This is straight out of ANSI, American National Standards Institute. Here you go. Amplitude is the height. Time is going this way. Always remember, time is going left to right. Amplitude is vertical. Whoa, back off here. Okay, and here's the picture drawn by another author. You know, when you can see attack time, release time, and look at the similarity between that diagram and this diagram. The same stuff, okay? So attack times and release times, they are adjustable. They are adjustable. Now, the oldest type of attack release time was called peak detection. Peak detection meant that the attack and release times were fixed. The attack time was usually meant to be about, probably about a 20th of a second, 50 milliseconds. It's a short time. I mean, that's pretty short. And the release time was meant to be about 3 times that length. And people found that that was pretty well a happy medium. It's kind of like, okay, you know, attack time of 50 milliseconds, release time 150 milliseconds, and that's good for a door slam. You know, like you're quiet and all of a sudden, wham, the door slams, or it's good for traffic and walking around when the input sounds change in intensity. It was found to be fairly like a happy medium. And well, okay, let's look at it. Here's sound occurring over time. This is just showing you the intensity of sound. Just la 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 la, and then okay, it's changing, blah 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 blah. And then here's the knee point. This is the threshold level of compression. We're not showing an input-output graph here. We're just having a line saying, okay, once the sound got more than that in intensity, the hearing aid had to go into compression. So here, this you had a real loud area of sound there, just a short time, just like wham, maybe it could have been a door slam or people suddenly starting to clap or something. So the hearing aid says, ooh, I better go into compression. So here's what the peak detector did. Wham, it went into compression. The gain was linear, 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 and then suddenly down into compression. But remember, the release was 3 times as long. So here's the release time, and it releases from compression. Well, Some authors and some designers of hearing aids said, well, shoot, what about if there's important speech information taking place there? Shouldn't we have the hearing aid kind of recover quicker? Especially if the sound suddenly, look at my cursor here, if the sound suddenly becomes soft again. So if the sound suddenly became soft, shouldn't the recovery be fast as well? Shouldn't the release time of compression be quick as well? In other words, let's have the attack and release times change as the nature of the sound input changes. If the sound is slow to become loud, let's see, if the sound is slow to become loud like this and then slow to become quiet like that, then let's have long attack, long release times. On the other hand, if you have a let's have quick attack, quick release. I mean, that was the idea, and it often still is the idea. So another type of compression has been developed that says, hey, man, let's just make the attack times and release times kind of vary with the intensity of sound. So the next type of attack release time came out was called adaptive compression. Now, adaptive compression had the same quick attack times as peak detection did. Nothing was changed about the attack time, but the release time could vary. So if you had a sound that like a clap or a door slam, okay, you'd have a quick attack, quick release. But if you had sounds like traffic coming toward you, okay, that kind of a sound takes longer to become louder and longer to become quieter again. So here, adaptive compression would provide its same quick attack time, but the release time would be longer. Okay, well, that was better than a poke in the eye with a sharp stick. That was okay. But then people decided, hey, and you know which type of compression had adaptive compression, by the way? The till hearing aids that we described last week. The treble increase at low levels hearing aids. The one that was called the K amp, named after that guy Meade Killian that I talked about, the 6.5-foot tall fellow with a handlebar mustache. He developed the first till hearing aid, the type of WDRC taking place in the treble frequencies only. And his hearing aid was called the K amp after his last name, Killian. And they used adaptive compression. Later on, get this, out of Canada, because basically most of hearing aid amplifiers were made in Canada. And most of them were, about 80 to 90% of analog hearing aid amplifiers were made in Canada. And then the US would buy them and put them in their thing. Anyway, average detection came third. Now, average detection was one step beyond adaptive compression. Average detection said, hey, not only is the release time variable, but also the attack time is variable. And, well, that's even, as they say down in the deep south, that's even mo better. So now you've got attack times and release times that vary. So if the sound is quick to become loud and quick to become soft, quick attack, quick release. If the sound is long to become loud and long to become quiet, long attack, long release. On the other hand, if a sound is quick to become loud and then gradually become soft, quick attack, long release. Fourthly, if the sound took a long time to become loud and then suddenly became soft, long attack time, quick release. So it's just variable, everything variable. Everybody get down tonight, everybody Wang Chung tonight. Everyone's happy, okay? So there you go. Here we'd have a quick sound, and you'd have a quick attack and quick release. Look at the orange. So the orange here is the average detection. The orange could also be the adaptive, because both of them have a release time that is variable, and that because this sound took a long time or took a quick time to become soft again, therefore the release time was quick. And therefore important speech information isn't lost. That's the idea of it too. You wanted the hearing aid not to lose speech information that might occur right after the door slammed. So essentially these were the goals. Now, this is a weird picture, and I'm not expecting anybody to, this is for nerds only, FNO, okay? But this is how average detection worked. I'll show you. Average. We're looking at the third one. This is sort of how it worked. Here's sound changing in intensity over time. Okay, actually here it is in blue. Here's the sound changing in intensity over time, and then suddenly you get a peak. And that's what's called, here's your input sound level. It suddenly became loud. Well, the average detection one, the one that we showed you here, it had two detectors in it. It had so it would take it would sample the sound over this gray area, 220 milliseconds. It would sample the sound. And it would take an average of the intensity. See this blue? The average intensity of that blue is shown here in green. And the average of this would be shown as the green here. It also had a fast detector. And the fast detector sampled or averaged the sound over this darker gray, like really small intervals. And so its average is shown as the pink. And what are they averaging? This blue sound. They're both sampling the sound together. They're both averaging it. And so when the quick average exceeded the slow average by some 6 decibels or something, then the quick average would say, slow, get out of the way, I'm taking over, go into compression. So usually the slow detector told the hearing aid whether to go into compression or not. But the fast detection was riding along with it. And if the fast average exceeded the slow average by 6 dB, then the fast average said to the slow average, get out of the way, I'm telling the hearing aid to go into compression. Anyway, these two averages worked together, and somehow what happened was you had a lovely situation where you had adaptive attack times and adaptive release times, shown as average detection. And that was the cat's meow. Meow. So the whole thing is that digital hearing aids also use average detection today. For most frequencies, but not all. Haha, now we need to go further. Oticon, the hearing aid called Oticon, was really big on what they called syllabic compression. Syllabic compression. Well, you think of syllables in words. How many syllables does the word syllable have? Well, syllable. Syllable. And they change fast, don't they? Mississippi, M-I-S-S-I-S-S-I-P-P-I. All the little syllables in the speech. Since they happen quickly, syllabic detection is a type of attack release times that has really, really short attack release times, meant to follow the envelope of speech intensity. Now, when we say the word envelope, envelope is a common word we use in this field. I'll show you an envelope. It has nothing to do with letters, okay? But I'm going to make a sound, and I'm going to draw you a sound. Okay, so here's a sound wave changing in intensity over time. Okay, it gets louder than soft, louder, soft. Okay, now here's the envelope. I'm just drawing this here and drawing this here. The best way, the thing about Zoom is that I can just draw it and show you. Here's the envelope. I just drew a line around the tips. Okay, so an envelope is just showing you the overall shape of the sound. It's just drawing the lines, showing you the basic shapes of the sounds. Okay, now start sharing again. So, sew buttons and become a tailor. Okay, so anyway, so the envelope of speech syllables is rapidly changing over time. There's loud parts and soft parts, loud parts and soft parts of speech. Speech is a very dynamic stimulus. It's rapid. And as I said to you in acoustics class last year, I mean, dogs and cats must be laughing their heads off at us. Here we are standing there as humans on 2 legs instead of 4, and instead of barking or meowing, our noise from our mouths is going. And the dogs and cats don't know what the heck we're saying. I mean, it's like us listening to Chinese. I mean, you're just listening to. So at any rate, that speech has a weird acoustic to it. Speech is odd. It changes rapidly over time. Its intensity, unlike a fan, unlike an air conditioner, unlike a fridge, unlike even traffic, unlike even background party noise, party babble. You're listening to, you're at a party, you're at someone's house, you're standing at the bottom of the stairs with a drink in your hand and you're talking to somebody else, but the background party, that's why they call it babble. That's why they call it hubbub. It's kind of, it's not changing very much over intensity over time. Its time envelope will be rather flat because it's just every once in a while. You'll have a louder part. But basically, even background speech, the intensity doesn't change much over time. Whereas speech close up to you, from somebody you're facing a yard away, the sound of my flapping gums in this Zoom session, that's changing rapidly over time. Its time envelope is going wow, 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 wow. And that, by the way, is how digital noise reduction works. BTW. By the way, digital noise reduction in today's digital hearing aids, if the envelope of the sound input is rather flat, the hearing aid goes, oh, that's noise, reduce the gain. And if the envelope changes rapidly over time in intensity, the hearing aid goes, oh, it must be speech, amplify more. I'm serious, because hearing aids don't understand English. Hearing aids are devices, they're instruments. They don't understand any language. What's the only cue or clue that they can use? The only clue they can use is the artificial intelligence that we put in. And we go, hey, well, the acoustics of speech are very unique. Unlike most other noises, speech changes rapidly over time. So any sound that changes rapidly over time, the hearing aid's going to amplify the crap out of it. And as soon as the envelope stays fairly stable over time, back off, Jack. So here's a weird situation. What happens if you go into a military thing and you're listening to the anthem, or you're listening to the hearing aid's going to go, oh, that's speech. Because even though it's music, okay, the hearing aid's going to think, oh, that's speech, because it's and any sound that changes quickly over time, that's as good as we can get. So what happens is when the hearing aid reduces the gain, thinking, in quotes, that it's noise, it's going to reduce the gain for both the speech and the noise, isn't it? And guess what? You've just thrown the baby out with the bathwater. So digital noise reduction, by the way, does not increase speech intelligibility at all. It's nice. It's comfortable. It's a nice thing for the heart. You should think of your client's feelings. Yep, it's really comfortable because the guy doesn't have to sit there adjusting his volume all the time. That's nice, but does it increase the percent of words understood in noise? We'll get to that, and actually in the next few weeks we're going to be talking about digital noise reduction in way more detail. I'm just kind of giving you like a kind of a heads up about it. This is a topic we're going to spend at least a week on, is digital noise reduction, because the analog hearing aids, of course, didn't have digital noise reduction. They just didn't have it at all. Anyway, share a screen, back to where we were. Let's see if I can tell you another set of lies. Okay, no, so syllabic detection. It was really pioneered by Oticon, and it's short attack release times, really meant to follow the average syllable. And guess what it was used with? Bill. Because last week I told you that Oticon was big on Bill. Killian was big on till. He used adaptive compression. Syllabic detection was big on Bill. So Oticon used syllabic detection for the low frequencies. And the reason why is because lows mask highs better than highs mask lows. Remember that? That was one of the intellectual reasons for using Bill. And when you remember Bill, bass increase at low levels, Bill is simply WDRC confined to the bass frequencies. It's WDRC mainly below 1,000 hertz. So WD, when the sound is loud coming in, you're going to get a reduction of low frequency gain. And when the sound becomes softer, you get an increase of low frequency gain, assuming that background noise is low frequency. So as soon as someone's talking, you're going to have an instant, quick reduction of low frequency gain. The idea was we've got Bill reducing the low frequency gain and noise, plus we're making that Bill happen fast. Okay, so Bill is the reduction of low frequencies with loud inputs, and syllabic detection is the quick application of Bill. It's making it happen now, like instantly, following the syllables. So there you go. The last one we cover is automatic volume control. This is the dead ringer opposite. It is long attack release times. Now, who used automatic volume control was the company called Widex. I like to call them Windex. W-I-D-E-X, Widex, another Danish company. Oticon's a Danish company. Widex is a Danish company, only they call it in Copenhagen, they call it Videx. Videx, yeah, we make the hearing aids Videx. Anyway, Widex makes long attack release times. You know why? To imitate, get this, to imitate the length of time it takes for the client to raise his or her arm and reduce the volume when the sound gets loud. So they're imitating the human reaction to it. So if the sound becomes loud quickly, who cares? Give it a long attack release time, because that's what humans do in reacting to it to change the volume. They're imitating human behavior. It's kind of like, okay, that's a totally opposite approach to Oticon, like just opposite. Yet no one went to court, no one went to jail, and there's no right or wrong here. This is all just, the jury is out. There is no best one. Like, these are all just different philosophies. Some people are Christians, some people are Buddhists. It's just a different faith. That's all it is. Different approach, different strokes for different folks. So essentially, the two first digital hearing aids out there, the first one was Widex. And when did digital emerge? 1997. So Widex, 1997, came out with a hearing aid called the Senso, S-E-N-S-O, the Widex Senso. And the Senso, whoa, ding, 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 ding.
Sorry.
It's all right. The Senso had digital noise reduction. It's the first hearing aid to ever use digital noise reduction. All the other manufacturers were terrified of it. You know, they thought, oh boy, the sky is falling. We're screwed. We don't have digital yet, and they've got digital noise reduction. Oh my God, what are we going to do? There's a funny sound of engineers make when they cry. Engineers cry in a funny way, sort of with tin-like tears. They have a, you know, the plastic thing in their front pocket with the pens, the nerds. Anyway, all the manufacturers were freaked out because Widex was the first to cross the line and get into digital noise reduction. And they called it the Senso because it sensed the sounds. Was the time envelope fairly flat, or was the envelope choppy? And if the envelope was choppy, oh, it must be speech, amplify. And if the envelope was fairly flat, back off, Jack. And how did it apply its compression? It used compression, it used WDRC, didn't use bill or till, it just used straight WDRC. And you could set it differently. I mean, you could take out lows, you could add highs. I mean, hearing aids are it had 3 channels. The Widex Senso had 3 channels, a low frequency channel, a mid frequency channel, and a high frequency channel. And I think the low frequency channel was like 125 to 500 or something. I think the mid channel was above 500, and I think it went to like 1500 or something. And then the high frequency channel was 2000 plus, something like that. So it had the 3 channels, so you could fit all kinds of hearing losses, even cookie bite losses. You know, it's kind of, you could fit anything with it, and you could adjust the gain of those 3 channels. And it used WDRC in all those 3 channels, and it used digital noise reduction. And last of all, it used AVC, automatic volume control. And what is that? Long attack release times, meant to imitate the length of time it takes the client to raise his or her hand to change the volume control. Just a different philosophy. Right on its heels, like I wouldn't say more than a month or 2 later, Oticon came out with its digital hearing aid. And Oticon's digital hearing aid was called DigiFocus, D-I-G-I, Focus, DigiFocus, D-I-G-I-F-O-C-U-S, DigiFocus. And the DigiFocus did not use digital noise reduction. The DigiFocus had 7 channels. Instead of 3, it had 7. And when you have 7 channels, the channels are narrower, aren't they? Okay, so when you're thinking about the channels, and I'll draw that for you here, it's always good just to draw. Okay, I'll draw you a 3-channel hearing aid like Widex Senso. And then I'll draw you here a 7-channel hearing aid, you know, so you're basically, how many channels? Here, there's 7. There you go. So you're looking at a 3-channel on the top, frequency being along the horizontal axis, amplitude or gain being along the vertical axis. So the Senso would be this one, and the DigiFocus would be that one. The channels were narrower, of course. Same frequency span, the same width, but just the channels are narrower. So in other words, you have a finer toothed comb. You know, your comb has more teeth in it. And so they bragged, oh, we've got way more channels than Widex Senso does. Yeah, but it didn't use digital noise reduction. What it used was bill with syllabic detection. And Oticon hung its hat on that for like a decade. Oticon wore that like a heart on its sleeve. Oh, that was Oticon's approach. Use bill with quick attack release times. What are those quick attack release times called? Syllabic detection. Okay? And it really used the syllabic detection in the low frequencies. So in the bottom 3 channels, the lower 3 channels, that's where bill took place, and that's where syllabic detection took place. Remember the reasons why. Background noise is low frequency, and low frequencies mask highs better than highs mask lows. The rumbling of a truck covers the peeping of a canary. Much better than the peeping of a canary will cover up or mask the rumbling of a truck. And that's because of the shape of our traveling waves in the cochlea. Upward spread of masking. So Oticon was really trying to address the upward spread of masking. Background noise is the bull in the china shop. The high frequency consonants are the china teacups. And you want to keep El Toro down. You want to keep that bull from smashing the china teacups. So Oticon had a whole philosophy here. They had a whole raison d'etre, a whole belief system. And Widex Senso just approached things from a completely different area. No one was right. No one was wrong. But here we've got it. We've covered 5 different types of attack release times. Peak detection, analog hearing aids, quick attack times, longer release times, and they were fixed. You couldn't change them. This was like 50 milliseconds, and the release time was about 3 times the length, about 150 milliseconds. Next came adaptive compression. Adaptive compression was used in the K-amp. Adaptive compression said, let's have quick attack times, but make the release times vary. If the sound becomes quick to become soft, let's have a quick attack, quick release. If the sound is long to become soft, we'll have a quick attack, longer release. Always the attack was quick. Then came average detection, the third one. And average detection had variable release and attack times, both. So it's one step more better. Then syllabic detection, Oticon, and automatic volume control, Widex. So now we can conclude today's Zoom session by saying, what do digital hearing aids mainly use today? And most digital hearing aids, most manufacturers use syllabic detection for the low frequencies, and they use average detection for the high frequency channels. Syllabic detection is used in the low frequency channels, and average detection is used in the high frequency channels. That is seen as a half-decent compromise, using the best of the technology that was out there and just combining everything. So I'm going to go ahead, Tina.
Was the K-amp, that was for Bill, right?
Yeah, the K-amp was before. Actually, Bill came out way earlier, but it was never called Bill. It was just called it was called ASP, Automatic Signal Processing, and it was by Siemens. Nobody understood it, but Oticon grabbed Bill big time, even in the analog days, at the high end of the analog era. And it's a good question. When was the end of the analog era? The mid-90s, 1995, 1996, okay? There was Bill and Till out there in competition with each other. The K-amp used Till, Oticon used Bill, and the hearing aids were analog. 1997, digital came out. Oticon used syllabic detection and Bill, and the Senso used automatic volume control, which was totally different. And then gradually people began in digital hearing aids from Siemens, from Resound, from Bernafon, from Unitron, all the different companies, Starkey. They started thinking, you know what, the best attack release times are syllabic detection, but we don't want to use that for everything. We just want to use that for the lows like Oticon did. But also a really good type of attack release time was average detection. And that's what we want to use for the high frequency channels. And that's generally the default of most digital hearing aids today, regardless of the manufacturer. That tends to be the default combination. If I stop sharing and look at our notes to see where we've gone and where we are, okay, I'll escape out of this, okay, and go to our notes and let's see what we wrote and then get out of here. We're good. For once, we'll get done in quicker than an hour. Yay. ANSI testing. Okay? You don't need to memorize this at all. This is just something for FYI. Characteristics. They look at attack release times too. You can measure the attack release times on ANSI testing. Remember ANSI testing. Never forget ANSI testing. Okay? ANSI tests the hardware of your hearing aid. The mic, the amp, the receiver. That's the hardware. Just like with your computer, the monitor, the keyboard, the mouse. Okay, that's the hardware of your hearing aid, of your computer. The software is PowerPoint, Excel, Microsoft Word, and it's the same with hearing aids today. Analog hearing aids had no software. Analog hearing aids were all hardware, mic, amp, receiver. Today, there's nothing digital about the mic. There's nothing digital about the amp. There's nothing digital about the receiver. Those are still analog hardwares. I'm just waving at my better half. She's just taking off, going out with a buddy here. Okay. So anyway, so today's digital hearing aids have the same analog hardware, mic, amp, receiver, but they also have software. Okay, they've got all digits, X's and O's, and zeros and ones and binary, blah, 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 blah. A to digital, analog to digital converter, digital to analog converter, digital signal processor, all of that jazz inside. And that's what controls the software. Okay? Anyway, ANSI testing tests the hardware of your hearing aid. Doesn't test the software, it tests the hardware. And we've gone over, I know we have, there's 5 tests in ANSI that we need to know about, right? OSPL90, output sound pressure level with 90 dB coming in. The second one was full-on gain, FOG. I think a third one was reference test gain, showing you what the hearing aid is doing with the user settings, like with the volume control reduced. And then you had equivalent input noise, like how much noise is the hearing aid making inside? What's the noise of the hearing aid? Okay, and that had a tolerance of 30 dB. And then you had harmonic distortion. How much is the hearing aid distorting the sound? Because all amplifiers distort. They all do. You can go to Walmart and buy an amplifier for your stereo, and you're going to have specs showing what's the harmonic distortion. In other words, you can think of it in an analogy like this. You invited Mary to come to the party, but did Mary bring her kid along? Was that unexpected? Okay, it's what's in the output that wasn't in the input. That's the harmonic distortion. How much did the amplifier add crap to the signal? So then, beyond those 5 tests of ANSI, you can also test the attack or release time. That's very commonly done to see what that's looking like. And that's what this is here talking to you about. So this just tells you how that was done. Okay? I really don't care that you memorize that at all, but they just had a tone of 1600 hertz and it alternated between 55 and 90. And it's testing, what's the attack time? And what's the release time between the soft and the loud? Because the soft was assumed to be below the knee point, and the loud was assumed to be above the knee point. But anyway, then we scroll down. This is just a drawing of what we've had in a PowerPoint slide. Scroll down, and you'll see the types of attack release times. There you go. Okay. Peak detection, adaptive compression, average detection, syllabic detection, automatic volume control. And then you'll see something here, interaction between static and dynamic aspects of compression. Don't worry about that so much. Okay, don't worry. Speech is not at all like the pure tones used in ANSI testing. So the compression ratios obtained with pure tones are not necessarily those as obtained with real-life speech. Fast attack release times actually reduce the compression ratio. Long attack, blah, 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 blah. Here's the thing. In digital hearing aid software, the default is compression in the low frequencies with syllabic compression. The high frequency channels use average detection compression. Big events in the lives of little men. All right. Okay, that was your session on adaptive. Yes, question.
I have a patient in clinic.
Yep.
Who is complaining of every time he puts his headphones on to watch TV, he likens it to the similarity of the hearing aids have shut off all power to everything and then come back on. So is there a way to eliminate that compression whenever it's getting to that point where he's getting that?
I'm not sure I know what you mean. Is he wearing headphones or is he wearing hearing aids?
He's wearing hearing aids and he's wearing his headphones over his ears when he watches TV.
Weird.
To amplify the sound even more.
Weird. Don't do that.
I know. I told him the same thing.
Don't do that.
It's that peak clipping that he's getting.
Nah, you can make your hearing. He should take off his hearing aids and wear the headphones. That's what he should do. Otherwise, he should make his hearing aids communicate by Bluetooth with the television, and that's done in all digital hearing aids today, all of them. You can buy the little unit that sits behind your TV. You pair it with your hearing aids, and once they're paired,
Okay.
the sound is streamed by Bluetooth to his hearing aids. So either that or wear the headphones, but do not, repeat, not wear headphones over top of the hearing aids. You're just asking for trouble.
Okay.
Good question, though. Glad you asked it. That's a great way to end the morning session, with a bit of a laugh like that. All right. I'm not sure what we're covering next week, but I do believe we move into digital hearing aids. I think we're going to start out on digital hearing aids. I'm also thinking it's likely, we're moving into digital hearing aids, and this is a course where you are having weekly quizzes, I believe. So you're not having, I don't believe there's a midterm in this course, right? I don't think there is. You tell me. I can't remember. I'd have to look. Is there a midterm in this course?
Yes, there is.
It shows a midterm next week.
Okay, then the midterm,
Yes.
I believe, covers everything that we've covered up through today. Okay, because we're reaching a midway portion in the course. We are done the coverage of compression per se, and in the second half of the course we move into digital hearing aids, the digital features. We'll look at how compression is used in digital hearing aids. Quickly, we'll have 1 week on that. Then we'll have a week or two on digital noise reduction. We'll be describing the different approaches to DNR, digital noise reduction. Then in another week, we'll cover directional microphones and how directional microphones work, how they function and what they do, what's their clinical benefit. And then we'll have a week of describing and comparing the clinical benefit of digital noise reduction and the clinical benefit of directional microphones. And you can think of directional microphones as the head, and you can think of digital noise reduction as the heart. You can think of D-mics as the science. You can think of digital noise reduction as the art. And together they make a really good team. One's subjective, one's objective. Directional microphones do increase percent of speech understanding because they're focusing on the sound coming in the direction the person wants to hear. So they literally do increase speech understanding in noise. Digital noise reduction makes you feel better in noise. So we'll talk much more about that mañana. I will, this has of course been recorded. I'll send out a reminder regarding the midterm and stuff like that to everybody so that we're all on the same page with that, okay? Otherwise, live long and prosper. Adios, amigos, amigas.
See
All
you
right.
next week.
Ciao. Okay.